Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to do another tier list. Today we're going to be talking about the weapons from the first Halo game. And I've actually made two separate lists. One is for the regular weapons that you normally find during the campaign, which are the ones here, and then the other list is all the power weapons that are uncommon and have a lot of firepower. I thought that they needed to go in separate lists because it wouldn't be fair to compare the rocket launcher to a assault rifle. So first, and I thought I should mention some of the attributes, if you want to call it that, um, that I'm going to be considering in this list. So the first one is applications. In what kinds of situations could you use this weapon? Close quarters, long range against vehicles, um, stuff like that. Availability. How often can you find the weapon, or how much ammo can you find for it uh, throughout a level? Time to kill, which is the time it takes to kill an opponent. And recovery, which could be fire rate, the reload speed, or the cooldown, depending on the weapon. Just kind of depends on what is most applicable for that particular weapon. So I'm just going to go in the order that they appear, and the first one is the assault rifle. Um, Assault rifle's pretty bad. You have to be up close to enemies to be able to hit anything, because the spread is probably as wide or wider than the shotgun. Each of the bullets do very little damage, so it's terrible against elites. Grunts and jackals, it's decent, but considering that there are other weapons that do that job better, it's kind of a useless weapon, and it's not even that available. Something that is pretty weird about Halo games is that you're more likely to find a Covenant weapon than a human weapon, because you're fighting so many Covenant. The weapons that you're going to pick up after you run out of ammo for the weapons that you begin the level with, they're going to be Covenant. The ammo for the assault rifle is not as common as you would think throughout the campaign. Reload time, I guess, is okay, but overall, kind of a useless weapon. I'm going to go ahead and put it all the way down at D. Like always, I'm going to have to see where everything ends up on the list and then see if I need to make any corrections, but I have a feeling that that's not going to go anywhere. Okay, next up is the plasma pistol. I already know where this one goes. It's all the way up to S tier. The plasma pistol is easily the best weapon in the game. It's the most available because all the grunts and jackals use it. It has really fast fire rate. Basically, it shoots as fast as you can pull the trigger. And even when it overheats, it cools down really quickly. It does a lot of damage. You can charge it to get rid of elite shields in one hit. After you do the EMP, you don't even need to switch to another weapon. It cools down fast enough to where you can just keep on shooting afterwards and kill elites pretty quickly. Maybe it wasn't a thing, or maybe it wasn't as prominent, but the whole plasma is good against shields, and a ballistic is good against armor, I guess you could say. Didn't seem as prominent of a thing in the first Halo game, or it could just be that the plasma pistol is so damn good that it doesn't fucking matter. The only application that it doesn't work in is really long range, because it's not a hit scan weapon, so you have to lead your targets, although not as much as in future games, because I think in future games they slowed it down a little bit. But like, you can hit targets at mid range really well, so it overshadows any weapon that you could use at mid range pretty much. And then I guess the only thing that I can't do is kill vehicles, but that's kind of the power weapons jobs, so it's not like that's a huge drawback or anything. Yeah, plasma pistol, best weapon in the game by far. Next up is the plasma rifle, and it is a close second to the plasma pistol. The only disadvantage with the plasma rifle is it doesn't have the charged EMP bolt. And I guess actually the rate of fire is a little bit slower than the plasma pistol because it's fully automatic and you have to depend on the rate of fire for the plasma rifle, whereas the plasma pistol, you are the rate of fire, so it just depends on how fast you can pull the trigger. Although I guess it has a little bit of an advantage that your finger doesn't get as tired because all you have to do is hold down the trigger rather than mashing the mouse button. If I can't find a plasma pistol for whatever reason, I'll pick up a plasma rifle. It's my second choice of weapon. So yeah, it's gonna go behind the plasma pistol in A tier. It might be second place in S tier depending on how I feel about the other weapons. But okay, next up is the Magnum. Now, most people would say that the Magnum is the best weapon in the game and would put it at S tier, but I disagree. I don't think the Magnum is that good. You can hardly ever find it or find ammo for it. It's terrible against elite shields. It can zoom in so you can use it at mid-range, but the bullet spread is a lot wider than you would think, and so it's actually not that accurate. And so even though you have the crosshair right on an opponent's head, like, it'll miss. You can use it at close and mid-range, but that's kind of how the other weapons have been so far, except for the assault rifle, which is pitifully short-ranged. Reload time is okay. I guess if I had to compare it to the other weapons, which after all this is the point of a tier list, I would rather have a plasma rifle than a Magnum, so I'm going to put it under the plasma rifle at B tier. Okay, the Needler. The Needler is weird because it's, in some situations it can be really OP, and in some situations it's pretty useless. Finding ammo for it is not that difficult because it's a pretty common weapon that the grunts and I think the elites also use. I think it only works at mid-range because at close range the needles don't start tracking soon enough for it to be effective, and at mid-range it has enough space to kind of move around and home in on the target. It's kind of sucky to use though, just because it is so slow. It takes a while for all the needles to hit and to super combine. Reload time is also pretty slow. The time to kill is funny because it's not like other weapons that the scale of the amount of time that it's gonna take to kill them is gonna ramp up according to how much health they have. The Needler is different because it doesn't matter how much health the opponent has. If you stick a certain amount of needles in an opponent, they'll die instantly regardless. So the time to kill is like the same for everyone, funnily enough. It's pretty bad against jackal shields though. It can be a useful weapon, but the applications where it is useful is super narrow. So most of the time it doesn't make sense to really want to carry a Needler. But is it better than the Magnum? I mean, against elites, I would rather have a Needler, assuming that I have enough distance. The Magnum is kind of a mid-range weapon because of the scope, not quite long range. So it's like in the same niche as the Needler in that sense, but the Magnum is going to take so many shots to kill an elite, whereas the Needler, you get like 1/3 or half of the magazine into an elite and they'll blow up. Against jackals and grunts, the Magnum is better because even though it's not quite accurate, it will kill them with one headshot, and the Needler can't do that. You have to stick all the needles that it takes to super combine to kill them. This is tough. The Magnum has more applications because you can use it at short, mid, and kind of long range. Availability, Needler wins there. Time to kill, if we're just talking elites, Needler wins. Recovery, the Magnum wins. Man, that is really close. I didn't expect the Magnum and the Needler to be so damn close. My gut says to put it at C though, underneath the Magnum, because it's just so specific. The the situation has to be just right for it to be useful, whereas the Magnum, that's not quite the case. Next up, we have the plasma grenade. They're very common because it's the only grenade that the Covenant drop. It takes quite a bit for it to explode, which I don't like, and the blast radius isn't as big. The most useful thing that you can do with it is stick an enemy, but it's kind of challenging to do. The time to kill is instant. If you stick an elite with it, it'll kill them instantly. And then if you stick a grunt, they might actually run into their squad and inadvertently kill a bunch of Covenant with them. Applications, you can't use it in close quarters because it's a grenade. Use it pretty well like at mid-range. You can use it to clear enemies that are hiding behind cover. Time to kill is instant. Recovery doesn't quite apply, but I guess if you want to count the amount of time between grenade throws, I guess that's one thing. I know I'd rather lob a grenade than use the Magnum because of the potential to kill multiple enemies at the same time, and Magnum's pretty bad at destroying Jackal or elite shields. The plasma grenade has more power than the plasma rifle, but the plasma rifle I think has more applications because you can use it at close range where the plasma grenade you can't. I think I'm gonna put it at A tier next to the plasma rifle. It can be powerful if you're good with it and can stick enemies. The frag grenade, man, the frag grenade was the best in the first Halo. The blast radius was huge. It did a good amount of damage. Didn't really take out elite shields, but it'll weaken them a lot, and you can finish them off with whatever weapon you're using. Grunts and Jackals are doomed as soon as this lands by their feet, and it explodes pretty quickly. So enemies don't have much of a chance to jump away from it. It's pretty OP, kind of like the plasma pistol is. So I think I'm actually going to put this in S tier. It's fairly available and extremely useful. So I think that's a pretty fair assessment of the grenades. Yeah, I think that's that the list, the way that it is fine for the common weapons at least. Now, let's go into the power weapons. So here we got I included some of the weapons that only come with the Halo CE Custom Edition. So there's the fuel rod gun, the sniper rifle, the flamethrower, the rocket launcher, and the shotgun. The fuel rod gun, it's pretty OP. Instead of using ammo, it's energy based. And so if you just pace your shots, it'll never overheat and you can just rain death on all your enemies. Well, I guess availability isn't that much of a factor. The sniper, the rocket launcher, and the shotgun were available in the campaign, so availability does apply for these weapons. But for the flamethrower and the fuel rod gun, that's not a consideration because they would be available only on certain multiplayer maps, and the availability would be the same. It's going to be, in one spot where all the players have to fight over it. Maybe it's going to be kind of hard to judge these weapons in comparison to the others when that doesn't really apply to it. But the fuel rod gun is really good because it blows things up. It has a bottomless magazine until you run the battery out. I can't really remember how long the cooldown is, but I don't think it was that long. And considering how powerful the weapon is, if you do happen to overheat it, which by the way is really easy for it to not to, that cooldown isn't that big of a deal. Oh, and you know what's fun about the fuel rod gun in the first game is that the projectiles actually drop a little bit, so you have to kind of aim up, and it felt really good when you got a good grasp of what the projectile drop was like, and you aimed it really well and you hit targets. Like, it was this sweet feeling of, you felt skillful. The fuel rod gun in Halo 3, fuel rods travel super slow and they hardly drop. Maybe if you try to snipe a shade turret, then yeah, you have to account for the drop a little bit, but not quite like the fuel rod gun. In fact, It kind of reminds me of the skewer in Halo Infinite, because that is also a skill-based weapon. It doesn't explode, but the Fuel Rod is a little bit of skill because of that drop. So it's just fun to use. So I think I'm gonna put it at S tier. Alright, so next we got the sniper rifle. You get it a few times during the campaign. I don't think quite as often as the rocket launcher, though. It's extremely useful for shooting enemies that are, far away. That's the whole point of the sniper rifle. And in the first game, the Covenant didn't have their own version of the sniper rifle, so if you're far enough, it was real easy to just pick them off using the sniper rifle. The only drawback, I think, is obviously it's really difficult to use in close quarters, so that application is kind of out of the window. I think it is a good weapon. The range is a huge advantage, but I don't think you can really match the destructive power of the fuel rod gun. It does take a lot of skill to use. The fuel rod gun, you just point it and aim it, and you don't even have to be looking at them. You can just shoot in their general direction, and the explosion will kill them. The sniper rifle, you have to be real precise. I am going to put the sniper at A. Oh, that's really hard to see against the gray background. But yeah, I'm gonna put it there and see how I feel about it once I put all the other things on the list. The flamethrower. I think I remember the Halo CE flamethrower being kind of underwhelming. In general, flamethrowers in games kind of suck. In Halo 3, it was kind of useful because if you hit an enemy with one puff of flame, I don't know exactly how you would call it, but the flames would come out like in units, like individual like flames that came out of the flamethrower. I always, in my mind, called those individual flames puffs of flame. I know in Halo 3 that if you hit an enemy with one, that they'll die pretty quick. I think it was pretty close on Halo CE, but not as potent. And it's kind of just like a shotgun, but different. I don't know. I didn't think it was very good or fun to use in the multiplayer the times that I've had the chance to use it. I'm gonna put it at C because even though I didn't quite like it, it's still useful in close quarters. Next we got the rocket launcher, the big daddy, the weapon that makes the biggest explosion. Rockets travel pretty quickly, pretty good for taking out hunters. Oh, and by the way, I didn't really talk about the pistol being able to kill a hunter in one shot, because I mean that is useful, but hunters are a pretty rare enemy in the campaign. Even if you don't have a pistol, if you have like a plasma pistol or a plasma rifle, you could kill them fairly easily, especially if you know how to fist fight them. Then it becomes real easy because there's a trick to it that I've picked up in my Halo playing years. Using the plasma pistol and punching them is a very easy, viable strategy to use. So it's not like the Magnum is super necessary to be able to take them down. In lieu of the Magnum, the rocket launcher is obviously the best thing for hunters, and you don't need to get behind them for it to be effective. The rocket launcher also has the ability to take down at least land vehicles. Banshees was difficult because it didn't have tracking and the projectiles moved too slow to be able to accurately lead a target in the air. So it has more applications than the sniper, I think, because you can't use the sniper against vehicles. The sniper is purely an anti-personnel weapon, where the rocket launcher could be both anti-personnel and anti-vehicle, which is the same case for the fuel rod gun. So I'm gonna put the rocket launcher in S tier. It's, like the fuel rod gun, you just point in the general direction, pull the trigger, and they're dead. The shotgun in the first game was fucking awesome. It's a shame that with Halo 2 it got worse, and then Halo 3 it got even worse from that. It was kind of okay in Halo Reach, but yeah, in the first game it would tear up Flood, tears, jackals, and grunts, and elites. The elite shields were hardly a problem for the shotgun. You got to use the shotgun often enough. It was mostly just like a flood weapon, but sometimes you did get to use it against the Covenant. The shotgun is kind of the opposite of the sniper, where the shotgun is only useful real up close and the sniper is only useful really far away. So the number of applications is more or less the same. I feel like the shotgun actually is more common than the sniper rifle, and it's just way more fun to use. And the amount of shells that it was able to hold was crazy. It had like 12, I think, and then the reload was really quick. It's lengthy when you consider that you have to load all the shells. A Master Chief loads them in is super quick, in each one individually, and you could always just interrupt the reload animation because it's not like a clip that you have to get the whole thing in there. Once one shell is in there, you can fire it right away. So actually, I think it's better than the sniper rifle. It's more fun to use, tears shit up, more common. Yeah, I'm gonna review my list here. So the flamethrower, not super fun to use, didn't seem too useful. Sniper, very useful against faraway targets. Shotgun, extremely fun to use, tears shit up, absolutely in close range. So I think I like it better than the sniper rifle. And then these two, obviously, it goes boom. Like the amount of power that they have compared to the other things, just it cannot be matched. So yeah, I think that's gonna be the list. Here's my common weapons list one more time, and then here's my power weapons list. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my list, or would you have placed weapons in different areas? Let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll read them. I'm probably going to do a weapon tier list for the following games: Halo 2, Halo 3, so on and so forth, because I have a lot of opinions about weapons in Halo. It's one of the games, probably the game that I grew up with, but I always have opinions and gripes about certain weapons, and I always think of ways that the sandbox could be better, which is why I like downloading mods that rebalance things. But everybody has their own opinion about what the perfect balanced sandbox is. So I haven't quite found a mod that does everything the right according to what I think, but there are some mods that get it real close. But anyway, I'm rambling now. That's gonna be it for today. I'll see you next time.